Hello guys! Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to this channel, my name is VJ Floresca. I'm a fashion designer, and for today's video, this is going to be the part 2 of my how to sew a corset. So basically, part 1, I taught you guys how to create your own patterns using muslin and using a dress form and drape your own patterns. So definitely, this part 2 is the part where I am going to teach you how to transfer these muslin patterns into paper patterns. Sorry guys. Well, anyways, so if you are going to ask me, some of the designers, they actually skip the part of transferring the muslin patterns to paper patterns, especially if they're just trying to work faster, to skip this part. But since I am going to teach you the right way, then definitely once you're basically like final with your pattern, then definitely this is the step that you need to do, is how to transfer the muslin patterns to paper patterns. Because most of the manufacturing company, especially if you're going to sell your own clothing line or if you're going to work with production people, manufacturers, sometimes they don't really accept muslin patterns. Like I said, not all of them, but sometimes they do. Most of the time, they accept the paper patterns. So if you are going into that route, or if you just want to keep all your patterns organized, then definitely you really need to transfer your muslin patterns to paper patterns. Before we start, I'm going to show you guys the materials that we need for this tutorial. So the first is we need a tracing wheel. We need a pencil. We need paper, scissors. We need this curved ruler. And we also need straight ruler with like a transparent straight ruler so you can see the seam allowance later. And then we need this tracing paper. And also we need the pattern paper. And of course, we need the muslin pattern that we draped, okay? So once you have all of the materials, we also need a tape so that the paper does not move. It's just really helpful, okay? So the first thing that you need to do is to make sure that your paper pattern is laying flat. So I'm gonna tape it so that it doesn't move, okay? And then after that, since this is now your muslin patterns, then remove all the pins. Yeah, just remove all the pins and then make sure that you can see the mark that you just made, okay? Make sure that you all have those marks, okay? Okay, so basically you have 4 pieces, okay? The center back, the side front, and the center front, okay? So you can start either way, but let's start with the center front, okay? So what you need to do is sometimes if it's just a straight line, you can just align it here so that it's straight already, and you can do that by using a ruler and just like this, okay? I'm just gonna show you. So you can draw a straight line and then you can just align it, okay? Like this. Okay, like that. Okay, and then once you're done, it's either you tape it, which usually, that's what I do. I usually tape it so that, like I said, so that it doesn't move. Like that. Okay. And then once you're done with it, then once you're done, then it's now time to trace it. Oh my god, sorry, I forgot. Okay, well definitely, sometimes you can already, what do you call that, trace it. Like, I'm gonna show you an example, okay? So you have 2 options. So you just need to trace the lines. Okay, so this is the center front. This is the side. Like that. This is the notch. Again, don't forget to mark your notches. Okay, and then of course your green line. Okay, so once you're done, see, like, you won't really see it on the video, but since I am looking at it up close, you can see the line. Okay, and once you see the line, you can actually just do it like this and then mark it. See, like, you can really see it. But like I said, in the video, you won't really be seeing it. And then once you see it, then that's the time where you can actually trace it like that, okay? And then create your own line. So sometimes I use this if I really want to work faster, but that's not the right way to do it, because the right way to do it is you really need to put your tracing paper underneath your pattern so that the marks are more visible. Okay, so for example, this one. Okay, so I'm gonna put it here, and then I am going to put it here. Okay, because you need two pieces, because this pattern piece is a little bit bigger. Okay, so once you do that, then definitely you need to get some paper weights. Okay, just like this. Okay, and then start tracing. Okay, so when you start tracing, make sure that it's not moving. Okay, that's the most important thing, is that it's not moving. Okay, don't forget, I mean, please be accurate. The more accurate you are, the better, because you know, like, consistency is very important. So you really need to make sure that you are accurate, especially for your curve. Don't forget to mark the notches. Don't forget to match the green line. Okay, and then once you're done, see, now you can already see the lines better. Okay, and then the next thing that you need to do is to, of course, through the lines. Okay, so for example, for this one, right, like, you can really see, you can use the curve ruler for all your curves. I really like this ruler because it has both the curve and the straight side. Okay, like this, and then the center. Okay, like that. Okay, see, so this one, this is not included anymore because we're not using this line, so just erase that one. Okay, and then don't forget to add the notches. Okay, and then the green line. Okay, there. So for the green line, you need to put an arrow. Okay, so now that you already traced the seam line, then the next thing that you need to do is to add the seam allowance. Okay, for the seam allowance, it varies. Like I said, some people use 1 inch seam allowance, some people use 1/2 inch, some people use 3/4. So for this particular video, like I said, it's really up to you how much seam allowance you want to put. But for me, I'm just gonna put 1/2 inch on the side. So I'm just gonna put 1/2 inch. That's why you really need this ruler, because this is so good when you put the seam allowance. Okay, so this is 1/2 inch there, and then for the center front, it's going to be 1/2 inch as well. And then for the bottom part, it's going to be 1/2 inch. And then for the neckline, I want it to be 1/4. Okay, so like I said, it's really up to you how much seam allowance you want to put, but this is it. And then now you need to mark it. So this is the center front. Okay, and then I'm just gonna put 1. Okay, just to know that it's 1. But if you want to be more specific, you can put corset, cut 2 pieces. Okay, because it's gonna be 2 pieces, because 1 and then 2. Okay, and then if you want to add lining, you can also put cut 2 lining. Okay, so 1 corset, size 6. Okay, so you need to put the name of the pattern, which is I just put 1. What kind of pattern is this? Corset, cut 2, self. Okay. See, I'm being more, what do you call this? Being more technical. Cut 2 self, and then cut 2 lining, and then size 6. Okay. So those are the important labels that you need to put in your pattern pieces. So we're done with the first one, okay? And then of course you can now cut it. Oh my god, okay. So make sure guys that you are not using your you're not using your fabric scissors, okay? You need to have your paper scissors and fabric scissors separately, okay? Because that's how it should be. Okay, and then cut it here. And then cut it here. So basically, we are going to do this again with all the pattern pieces and there. So this is now your paper pattern. So this is the paper pattern and this is the muslin pattern. So muslin, paper. Okay, so now I'm going to do the side front, the side back, and then the center back.
Shall I compare to a summer day? She's the sun, she fill out the gray. Quench my thirst, she's my lemonade. The yellow that I couldn't paint. Shall I compare to a summer day? Just like the sun, it will never fade. The cool breeze in the shade, my four leaves to the plate, right to my mistakes. I just know she'll be my downfall. When the rain it pours, my heart will forever take a toll. 'Cause she's all I know, she's all I know, she's all I know. Shall I compare to a winter solstice? While she's coasting off, I'm dozing like a ghost, thinking that maybe I wouldn't notice. But it's colder, it's colder, it's cold around when you're not here. You put this icebox where my heart used to be, my dear.
Hey guys, so now I am now doing the center back, and just to give you an idea, usually if it's the center back where you're going to put the zipper, instead of putting 1/2 inch allowance, I usually put 1 inch, or even sometimes I put 2 inches, especially if this is a custom-made order for clients. Because when you do a custom-made order for clients, sometimes when you do the fitting, sometimes it might be too big or too small, but always remember that it's always easier to take it in than to take it out. So if you have like 1 inch or 2 inches seam allowance at the back, in any case that the client measurements change, let's say, you know, the client gained a little bit of weight or something like that, it's easier to move the zipper a little bit further or move it outside so that it can become bigger. Okay, always remember that, because if you're going to put it like 1/2 inch, then you don't have any room for adjustments. So now I'm done doing all the 4 pattern pieces. So this is the center front, this is the side front, this is the side back, and then this is the center back. Okay, so if you're going to look at it, it's, you know, like it's not laying flat because I missed one of the most important things, which is you really need to iron the paper patterns. Okay, so now I'm gonna do that so that it's laying flat. Okay, I'm gonna do that really quickly. Okay, so look at this. It's so much better because it's all laying flat. Okay, so the next step that you need to do is you need to walk the patterns. Okay, walking means you're just making sure that all your seam allowance and your notches are lining up. So let's start with the first one. Okay, 1, and then this is 2. So what you need to do is just grab a pencil and then start it usually at the bottom, and then see if it's lining up. Okay, so good thing about this kind of pattern paper, it's very sheer, so you can really see the marks underneath. So that's what we're going to do. So we're just going to line it or walk it. It's called walking, making sure that it is lining up. Okay, so see, like for example, in this part, I can already see that it doesn't line up. See? Okay, so look at this. Okay. See? So it's too short here. So what I need to do is I need to add a little bit of paper here so that it would match. Okay? Because it's not lining up. So it's either here or here. Okay? And then after the 2, we're now going to do the 3. Let's see. Okay, the 3 is good. So it's good. And then the 4. Okay, so the 4 is good. So the 4, the 3, and the 2 patterns are perfect. But 1 and 2, they're not good. So it's either I'm going to cut this part, which I think I should. Like this, okay? So see, guys, I'm just showing you that there is a process. You know, it's not gonna be always perfect, okay? It's always, you know, trial and error, making sure that you're always doing everything. So see, there's really a huge gap. So when that happens, then you need to go back to your muslin patterns and then just making sure that everything is going smoothly and check it like what is the problem. So if you're going to look at this, then definitely this is already too much fabric. So it's either you go with adding or subtracting. But in my case, I prefer to add rather than to cut, because once I sew this, I will make sure that I double check everything, and it's the rule is always it's easier to cut rather than to add. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more fabric here so that this pattern and this pattern will match, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. So again, I'm going to put it here. Okay, so I'm missing like a little bit of, probably like an inch. So what you need to do is grab an extra piece of paper, just put it like this, okay? And then get a tape, like that, okay. Okay, so now you have an extra paper, okay? And then now you can trace it again. So that's what I'll do. I'll do this. I'll do this. Again, this is called, yeah, and then this one. Okay, and then that's where you need to add. Oh, sorry. That's where you need to add. Here. Okay, so this is my mark where I'm going to add something. And then from there, okay? So that's the mark, so you just really need to correct it, okay? Guys, like I said, don't be afraid to commit mistakes, okay? Because if you commit mistakes, then that's the time where you will learn, okay? So I'm teaching you guys how it really works, okay? Don't be afraid, because like I said, mistakes are good, especially if you learn from it. Okay. Okay, so see, this is now the adjustment that I made. So now, if we're going to line it up, then probably it should be fine. Okay, so we can like do this and double check. Because if you're going to sew it, you're going to sew it like this, right? See? Okay. So now they're good, okay? So I need to move the notch, okay? Because the notch is not lining up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to move the notch to make sure that they match. Okay. Okay, so this is the new notch. Okay, so this is the new notch. So I'm gonna delete this. Okay, so now after doing that, sometimes what I do is I would get a Sharpie, usually red Sharpie, that's really any color, red or green, so that I can mark the notches. Because sometimes I always forget the notches, so just put it here, okay, just to know that it's your notch, okay. You can just do like a T sign, okay, and then there's the side back. Okay. this one, and this one. And also try to add another notch here so that you know that that's your zipper line. So now you're done. So you have your pattern pieces now, and the next step is you can now cut your actual fabric and sew your own corset, okay? To other people, sometimes they would do another test, which is another prototype or toile, okay? Which is after you draft your paper patterns, you can now start by sewing it to another muslin, but this time it's not gonna be half, it's gonna be full, okay? So both left and right, and then see if the fitting is good. But for me, I'm going to skip that part. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to use my pattern pieces and sew like a corset using a fabric that I think that I don't really need, so that I can just really test it and then see if the fitting is perfect. So that if there is an alteration, then we can actually change the paper patterns. It's so much easier to change the paper patterns rather than changing the muslin, right? So that's actually the advantage if you have your paper patterns, because it's so much easier to change it rather than this, okay? So now we are going to do that. We're now going to cut the fabric using the patterns that we made. We are now going to cut our fabrics. Okay, so these are all my pattern pieces. Okay, so I have 4 pieces because it's the center front, side back, and center back. So I decided that for this project, I'm going to use 4 different textiles, okay? So that it's gonna be like a collage of different fabric. It's actually part of my aesthetic. Like, I like combining different textiles together. So here, I'm gonna show you 4 different patterns. So now I'm gonna show you 4 different fabrics with different patterns and prints, and then we're gonna sew them all together to create that kind of like patchwork effect. So this is the first fabric. I love it. It's like very tribal-ish. I like the color. And then this is the second one. It's stripes. Super pretty. And then this is the third one. It's like squares. Really pretty too. And also this is the last one. Okay, so probably this is going to be the one. This is going to be the first one. This is going to be the center front. And then this is going to be the side front. And then this is going to be the side. This is going to be the side back. And then this is going to be the center back. Okay, so we're gonna start with the center back, okay? You can start whatever you want, but for this one, we're gonna start with the center back. So this is the selvage of the fabric, okay? Remember that this is the selvage, and when you cut it, since I'm going to cut 2 pieces, you can just fold it together like this, so that your selvage is parallel to your grain line, or you can just like put these 2 together like that. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. And then put your pattern. So this is the number 4, okay? This is the center back. So that's what we're going to do. See, this is the grain line and this is the selvage, okay? It should be parallel. Okay, so selvage, grain line. So we're just gonna move it like that, okay? And then we're gonna start cutting, okay? People have different ways how to cut it, but usually me, I would just put a pin just to make sure that it doesn't move. Yeah, I think that's good. Usually 2 to 3 pins are good, but for this video, I'm gonna put 4. Okay, like that. Okay, and then once you're done pinning, see it's not moving, then you can now start cutting. Okay, so this is my fabric scissors, okay? You have your paper scissors and you have your fabric scissors, okay? Make sure you don't mix them together, and I even wrote fabric, okay? So just cut it like this. Okay. And then this one. And then this. Okay. So now you have your center back, okay? And again, make sure that you have your notch. Okay, and then you have your notch. Okay, so that's your notch. And this one, actually, we don't need this. So I can actually like take that out. Oh no. Because if you put a Sharpie, it might bleed on the fabric. But okay, you don't really need this, okay? So just use this one so that you know that this is the zipper. And then this is the other side, okay? So for this one, I'm gonna show you another technique how to cut your fabrics using this pattern. So sometimes what they do is they use a chalk to mark it like this. Okay. Yeah, they do that. Like that. So basically, you are tracing the edge. Okay? Like that. See? And then this is the notch. And then this is the notch. And then once you take it out, you can now see the line that you make. And then now you can now start cutting it. Okay? Some people do that, but me, I don't really do that. I prefer to do the pin. That's just like my method, my preference. So like I said, people have different techniques. So there's no right or wrong. It's just really a matter of what kind of method do you prefer. But for me, I prefer this because I like looking at the pattern pieces. Because sometimes when I'm cutting, I get really confused if I don't have the pattern pieces on top of the fabric. Especially if you are cutting so many pieces. Like sometimes it gets really confusing. So I prefer this method so that, yeah, I'm not confused. So basically that's the only reason why I prefer this method, okay? Yeah, so this one, again, don't forget your notch. This is the notch. Then don't forget that this is the notch. Okay, so this is the fabric for the pattern 2, which is the side front. Again, this is the selvage. This is the grain line. You need to make sure it's parallel. Okay, put it there. Put some paper weight and of course pins. Okay, just pin it. Okay. And also some people, they put a rotary cutter. I mean, they use rotary cutter to cut their patterns, which is also good. Sometimes I do that. You just really need to put your mat here and then now your rotary cutter. So that's also good. I use that also. I also use that process. But for this video, I'm gonna use the traditional one, which is the using the fabric scissors. Okay. Then, okay. Okay, so this one, again, the notch. Don't forget, I've been repeating this for so long. You should be probably tired of me saying that. Okay, so now we're doing the center front. Okay, so the original pattern that I created is it actually has a seam on the front. Okay, but for this particular design, I decided to eliminate the seam on the center front and just do it on fold. Okay, the reason why I'm doing that is because I kind of noticed that this fabric that I chose has a beautiful pattern and I want this pattern to be mirror image and I don't want to cut a seam at the center front. Okay, so again, it really depends on your fabric. Sometimes if you don't have a pattern, it's good to have a seam at the front, but since for this particular corset, I really love this pattern and I want this to be the center front of my design. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna fold the seam allowance like this. Okay, so that it means that you're not going to cut it in the center front. And then if this is the design, what you need to do is to just mark the center front. Okay, you can use a ruler or you can just, you know, like this. Okay, I didn't use a ruler. So this is going to be your center front. And then you just really need to align it here. Okay, and then what you need to do is to put a paper weight just to make sure that it's not moving, or a pin. Okay, just do that and just trace it. Okay, some people use this. I mean, it's okay, but I'm gonna use another one that I prefer, which is the marker that can disappear. It's called the disappearing pen. Wait, let me show it to you. So this looks purple, but it's actually made in Japan. And one of the best things about this is that it disappears. Sometimes you just need to spray water and then it disappears, and it's super easy. Okay, so once your fabric is laying flat like this, okay, use this, then make sure that it's like that. Okay, then you can now start marking it. Okay, like this. Okay. And then this is the notch. And this is it. Okay, and then make sure that this is the notch. Just make sure that you have that mark. And then after that, you can actually fold this into two, which is, you know, it's easier that way. But just for the sake of the video, I'm just gonna flip this, okay? Flip it like that. Make sure that it's lining up so that it's 100% accurate. Okay, sorry. And then put it like that. Put a pin so it's not moving. Okay. I hope you guys are following me. Okay. And then I love this weight because it's really heavy. And then same thing. Just, you know, trace it. Okay. Like that. Okay. And then the notch. Okay, and now, after you mark it, then you now have your center front. Okay, so this is the center front. So now we eliminate the seam at the front. Okay, so that's really a good technique that you can do. Okay, so now we're gonna cut it. Okay, you can just like do this. Okay, and then let's now start cutting it. Okay. Because sometimes if you put a seam on the front, sometimes there's a chance that you will not sew it perfectly and you cannot get the same exact pattern. So like I said, it really depends on your design and it really depends on your fabric. But this is a good way to do it, especially if you really want this design. Okay. The notch. Okay. Okay, so now you have your center front. Super pretty, right? It looks like a heart shape. It looks like a Valentine's Day, okay? So now you're pretty much done. So this is the center front, okay? So you can actually like do this and see if it matches. See, it's matching. Okay, and then don't forget the notch again. There's a notch here that I miss. Okay, so I'm just gonna put a notch. Okay, so now that you're done with all your patterns, you can just now start sewing. So this is the center front. This is the side front. This is the side back. And then this is the center back. Okay, see, that's the thing. That's why I don't remove the paper patterns yet unless I'm going to sew it together, because it just gives me a it's just easier for me to do that. Okay, so now we're now ready to sew it. And there you are, guys. We're done with this tutorial, the part 2 of how to sew a corset. And I hope that you learned something new today. And please don't forget to come back next week for our part 3. So part 3 is basically the sewing of the corset. It's actually the easiest part because sewing is just really easy. But yeah, I hope you guys learned something new today. This is my passion. I love teaching. And if 1 or 2 of you learned something, then I accomplished my goal. And that is to teach you guys and share my knowledge. So give this video a thumbs up, and again, please share this video, especially to all the creative people out there who want to learn how to sew, because corsetry is really important, especially in the dressmaking, you know, because women love corset, especially if they want to have really nice shape. So again, thank you guys. Maraming salamat po, and I appreciate your time and for you watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Bye. Hello guys, again, this is the 3rd time that I'm going to test if the video is working. Hello, hello.